Hello, selamat petang. This is Tomex here. Welcome to my channel, and this is Beginner CSGO Essentials, Episode 1, part of a multi-part series that I'll be doing to help new or first-time CSGO players. So once you load up the game, you'll be looking at this screen. I'll just run through this really quickly. On the right side, this is basically your profile or your avatar, or whatever you want to call it. You click on it, you can see your ranks, your skill group, etc. And then on this one is your friends list. If you have a brand new account, it's gonna be empty. Then this is looking to play, so these are people around you that have this button on. So when you leave this on, you're gonna pop out here as well. So this is where you meet people. Like, you can just invite people to certain games and stuff like that. And yeah, pretty self-explanatory. So nothing too complicated there. If you have bought, I mean, CSGO is free to play right now. If you have bought Prime, which I'll explain a little bit what Prime is, you can add friends as well. So yeah. So anyway, let's turn this off. I'm just gonna go through settings really quickly. The first thing you go to is the video settings. The video settings is really dependent on what kind of computer you have. Is it pretty recent? If you have is it a couple years old? If you can run other games like decent looking games at high playable frame rates, CSGO should run fine. Like, it's not a very demanding game. It just needs a good CPU with like a pretty decent speed. You should be able to get 100 plus FPS, no problem. You can turn everything down, like you can turn everything to low and disable everything if you need more FPS. But remember to leave multi-core rendering on. This is super key. And then global shadow quality, like, try to leave it as high as you possibly can and yet maintain a good frame rate. The thing about CSGO is FPS is king, like, over image quality, because CSGO as it is isn't like the most graphically intense game. It's more to reaction speed, and like, you just want that high FPS for smooth, fast movement, and like just reduces your input lag as well. So FPS is always better than having a nice image, in my opinion. Of course, this is personal preference. You could, if you don't care about being really competitive in the game, you can just set it to like whatever you like. You can choose different aspect ratios. Some pros, or actually I notice a lot of pros play on 4:3. They play on 4:3 stretch or just 4:3 black bars. I play on standard widescreen, and I play just in between 720p and 1080p HD, just 1600 by 900. That's basically it for video. On the audio side, everything is basically explained by its title. You can leave advanced you should leave advanced 3D audio processing on. And then I like to turn down the main menu volume to 0, because I find it quite annoying. And then this one, 10-second warning volume, it's a good one to leave at like 20%. Don't leave this at 0. This one's pretty useful to have. You'll know why later. But yeah, let's move on. This is your game settings. These settings are all very like up to your personal preference. Like, these are all about your stuff that you see on the screen, like your map, your radar, your team avatar, your scoreboard, your crosshair, and all that kind of stuff. But the one thing you should do is turn on enable developer console, and this is, you tap the button underneath the escape key next to the number 1 key, and you have this console pop up. this thing is super useful, and once you start getting a little bit more advanced in the game, you probably use this for everything. Super useful, always have this on. And then the ping, I usually have it 60, anywhere between 60 and 100 depending on who I'm playing with, but yeah, 60 is good. 100, you're kind of asking for it, but it's still very playable, especially the casual level. And then controllers, you don't really touch anything here because this is basically for Xbox and PS4 controllers. And then right here, this is the next tab over is the keyboard and mouse. If you're starting out, don't change anything. Just look at what they have and then just try to learn it. You can tweak it as you go along and find out what works for you. I have certain keys to certain buttons that I find work better for me. It may not work for you. Like for example, drop weapon is a very common button to use. Is a very common thing to do. So it's originally set to G, but I have it set to mouse button 4 because it just works better for me. And then yeah, certain things like all this stuff in the beginning, just leave it on default and then just change as you go along and see what works and what doesn't work for you. Good one to have on is raw input, leave it on, and then mouse acceleration, leave it off, so make sure there's no artificial movement of your mouse it gives you the best one-to-one representation of every time you micro adjust your mouse. So yeah, just leave raw input on and mouse acceleration off. So that's it for the settings. The next one is the TV screen. This is where you see your previous matches that you've played. You can download the demos, and then once you download them, you can watch and review your own demo, or you can look at other people that are in the game as well, even your opponents. So it's a good place to just watch what you did wrong, or if you want to check if your opponent is hacking, or just you can do whatever you want with that. And then you can also watch like previous major matches. You can watch the finals, you can watch like the semi-final games, pretty much the same. So yeah, pretty basic. And then this one is your inventory. So if you're new to CSGO, you're gonna have just the default skins, and then you can buy skins through the Steam market. But remember, skins doesn't equal skill, and skins don't add any skill points or any attributes. It's purely cosmetic, so it's all about style. It's just for style points. You don't have to buy skins to be really good at this game. It doesn't matter. And the game also gives you free skins from time to time, free graffitis, free cases, stuff like that. So you don't really have to spend money to buy skins unless you're rich and you just want to have the fancy stuff. So that's pretty much it for inventory. Another one to look at is loadout. This one is pretty important. But so if you're on the T side, your default weapon when you start the first round is a Glock. But on the CT side, you have a choice. You have a USPS or a P2000. So basically, USPS is a silence pistol, and the P2000 is not. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. I'm not going to go into too detail with it. It's just a personal preference. Either one is good. Either one is just as deadly if you know how to use it. A lot of pro players prefer the USPS, but some of my favorite players actually use the P2000, like Jordan Gilbert Nothing. Used to play for Cloud9 and all that. He uses his preference is a P2000. So you can change that up on the CT side. You can also change this slot up with the CZ. You can do that on the T side as well, a CZ or a Tech9. And then on the right, on the SMG side, you can change out an MP5 for an MP7 on the CT side and the T side. On the CT side, you have one more option, is this slot right here. You can change an M4 to an M4A1S. So what you're changing is what you're gonna see when you press the buy button when you're in the game. So in the beginning of the round, when you buy your weapons, what you set your loadout to be, that's what you're gonna get. You can only change it after, like in the next game, not the next round. So it's not too important. Like, it doesn't really matter too much. Like, each gun has its pro and cons, but they're all really serviceable in their own way. So it's not like game breaking. Do you have this gun or this specific gun? So yeah, it's pretty basic. And this one is like it's looking to play. Like, it's basically like just a shout out, hey, I want to play a game, invite me. So when you have it loaded, you will pop out on this list, and then other people can invite you, and you can also do, and all the other people in this list are also basically doing the same thing, and you can invite them to your lobby. So pretty straightforward. And then now we get to the juicy bit. Okay, I'm going to start with the competitive and the wingman. These two game modes are the bread and butter of CSGO. Like, in my opinion, why I love CSGO is because of the competitive mode and the format it runs at. It's just 5v5 bomb defusal. It's the same format as what the tournaments run and everything. There's a lot of things you can do in competitive mode, like a lot of strategies, a lot of just many like nuances and detailed things you can do. I'm not gonna go into it right now. Wingman is basically competitive, but 2v2 version, and you'll have one bomb site instead of two. So I would not touch these two game modes if you are new to this game, because of two reasons. One, it might discourage you from playing the game anymore, because it can get quite serious. So like, you're playing with teammates, and if you don't perform well, or if you kind of suck, like, people tend to be toxic, and it might put you off the game. And number two, this is a personal opinion, I wouldn't touch competitive until you're pretty confident in playing casual and deathmatch. Like, you can win some games in casual. You're like, on your deathmatch score, you're scoring like 300 points or something. Because how you get your rank is determined by the first 10 games you play in competitive, and you don't want to have your first 10 games being you just like learning how to play the game. You end up getting placed so low, probably in silver 1 or 2, and as the community like to call it, it's silver hell. It's no fun being in silver ranks. No offense to silver players, but you're just not gonna get the full experience of a competitive mode. You might as well learn the game, be decent, play 10 games when you're decent in competitive, and get maybe Nova 1 or Nova 2. At least you get teammates that maybe communicate with you, and at least know some basic smokes or basic flashes, and like, all in all, you just get a better experience. You just don't get essentially people who don't know how to play the game play in your team. So yeah, those are two main reasons why I don't suggest. And because of that, if you're new to this game, you should play in casual deathmatch or casual mode. Like, casual mode is essentially competitive, but it's 10v10, and you can leave this game at any time. Like, you can play one round and leave. Like, something I forgot to mention, in competitive and wingman modes, if you leave the game halfway through the game, you get a cooldown ban, and it starts at 30 minutes, and it can last all the way up to 30 days if I remember correctly. And they have a certain period before they reset. So if this happens more than once a week, then like, you get banned for a week, and it happens again the next week, then it's like 20 days or something like that. So I think the reset time is about 2 weeks or 1 week or something like that. It takes time. So, and this applies even if your internet cut off or your PC crashed. If you don't reconnect back into the game within like the certain time period, I think it's 3 minutes, you get the cooldown. Like, there's no arguing it, there's no fighting it. So be careful. You gotta know at least you have an hour to spare before you join these games. If not, you're gonna have a cooldown on your account. Uh, Casual is the opposite of that. Like you can leave and come and go. Same with deathmatch. Uh, these are the two modes that are really good to get used to the game. Like deathmatch is good to get used to fragging, just like peeking, learning angles, learning your crosshair positioning, all that stuff, which I'll get into in a different video. And then casual is just good to learn like positions on the maps, like just learning the flow of the game, like when you have to plant the bomb, how you plant the bomb, you know, stuff like that. Like it's a good place to experiment things too, like certain ways to flash, all this stuff. I won't get too deep into it. And then you got war games and danger zone, the two game modes I don't play at all, but so I won't talk too much about it. But danger zone is essentially PUBG but the CSGO version. It's battle royale CSGO. I played it once, not really my cup of tea, but I think it's pretty fun. It looks pretty fun. Okay, so anyway, let's get back to it. Before you play casual and deathmatch even, the first thing you do is load up the training course and do it. Like this is so important because it will teach you the basic mechanics of the game. It will teach you how to shoot, it will teach you how to pick up a gun, drop a gun, throw nades, aim for the head, like aim a moving target, like plant a bomb, defuse a bomb, all this stuff. Like it will give you all the basic knowledge you need, and then you can start playing casual mode. And then you got practice with bots, which is every game mode except just with bots. You can play this offline. So you can play, like you can even choose what kind of bots you need. It's pretty, in my opinion, it's good practice, but if you don't get too used to playing with bots, because they don't play anything like human players do. So if you get good at playing with bots, doesn't mean you're gonna be good at playing with, you know, real humans. So it's always good to practice in deathmatch or casual. Like at least if you're a beginner, even if you die all the time, don't get discouraged because it's part of the game. Even pros die all the time in the game. Like don't get discouraged because someone's wrecking you or someone's like owning you or whatever it is. Like don't think too much about it. This game is full of toxic players. If someone is toxic to you, just mute them. So yeah, just have fun with it. And then there's also workshop maps that I won't go too much in detail with. This is a little bit advanced, but I'll probably get into it in the next video where I'll talk about practicing movement and aim, which that's where the workshop maps comes in handy. But and then community servers is a pretty interesting one. You can join what you might call it, like custom game servers. Like you have custom deathmatch servers, you have zombie modes, you have like surfing maps, bunny hop maps, KZ servers, like all sorts of stuff. So this is another completely different side. This is basically all the non-official CSGO servers. Like something you don't really often go to, and especially if you're starting out, I don't think you'll ever be coming here anytime soon. So I think that's about wraps it up, to be honest. Is there anything I missed? I don't think so. So yeah, I think that's about it for this episode. I hope you like it. Subscribe to my channel, give it a like, thumbs up, and leave a comment if you have any feedback or you want me to cover any specific topics. Yeah, have a good one. See you next time. Bye.